Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We got a great show for you lined up today. Let's see how we did yesterday. It was only a smattering of picks, as you recall. Buckets goes 1 for 2, hits the minus 120, misses the plus 110. And I don't guess. We definitely lost the American League bet, but that was a weird way to finish. We had American League money line minus 105, down 6-0. They tie it 6-6. No extra innings, but we had some extra swings, and we're going to talk about that. Let's bring in the stars of the show. I mean, we've got a lot of picks. We've got WNBA to talk about with Calvin Wetzel. We've got PGA to talk about with Taft Gantt, who I'm introducing everyone to right now. And then, of course, we got an NFL future and some summer league to talk about with Larry Hartstein. Larry, before we get to MLB, I do have to say hello to Taft. Taft, what's really cool? Gives you immediate street cred. First time you're on the Early Edge, you're going to talk some Open Championship with us. After this show, I'm going to the gym. After this show, you are going where?
I'm going straight to Port Russia, and I cannot wait to watch the Open in person this weekend from Ireland. It's the one major championship that I have not been to. So I'm going to call this completing my version of the career Grand Slam. We saw Rory do it earlier in the year. After today, I will be officially on that list. But as a fan, I hope you'll give me credit for it.
That is immediate street cred. Absolutely love it. You're going to see whether or not your bets cash. You've got a few bets for us for the Open Championship, and I'm sure everybody that's listening and watching has already watched the Best Bets show from yesterday. If you haven't, it's in your feed. I highly encourage you to watch that. Taft, thank you for joining us on the show. We hope to see you way more. Your golf insight is going to be great. You've been around golf your entire life. I think it's really cool that you're going to the Open Championship next week. Everybody say hi to Taft in the chat and hit the like button. Larry, when we started the show, I noticed there were some comments already in the chat like, hey, how do you settle like an American, like an all-star game with a swing off? And I think the questioning was, hey, I put money on it. I didn't even know this was an option. What's your response to that comment?
It's an exhibition, and the players were into it. It was a dramatic ending. I don't have any issue with it because, it's simply an exhibition. The thing that I liked even more was the ABS system where you tap the hat and get a call change. We got to get that into regular season baseball because, anyone who bets baseball knows that when you go from like 1-1 to 1-2 compared to 2-1 or a strike 3 call, you give the batter an extra life and then they come and it always comes back to haunt you. So I would love to see that because it was very quick. Matt Snyder, our pal, had a great column on it, how fast and efficient it was. I think we see that in Major League Baseball next year.
Well, that's why I advocate for instant replay in the NFL. It's not like the old system. We can go straight to New York and they can make a quick call on really almost anything. And I just think the objection to very quick reviews, and when I say quick, I'm talking 5 to 10 seconds, which you can get in the NFL as well for most of the calls. I just don't understand the objection to things like that outside of the fact that I really like to complain about things and therefore I want people to get it wrong. I think that's working on a subconscious level with some people, just kind of give you some insight there. Calvin Wetzel, we've got some WNBA happening. Before you give out your picks, can I ask you, is there something going on with Caitlin Clark? Is there a new injury we have to be worried about?
It looks like more of a re-aggravation of an old injury. She came up a little gimpy at the end of the game last night, so probably not going to play today. I don't think they have any reason to push her with the All-Star break coming up and being a back-to-back. Hopefully it's nothing serious and just one of those things where she tweaked it and misses today and is back for the All-Star break, especially with her being in the three-point contest this year. Hopefully she's able to compete, but obviously never something you want to see.
All right. We have some comments, Taft. One thing you don't know is a lot of people like to play the looks like game. Shout out to the Lebitard show who got that going 10, 15 years ago. Joe Neuenfeld, who I know is a fan of that show, but big time fan of this show. He says, Taft looks like he's initiating me into his frat, which I think is just a really funny comment, Joe. If anybody else has any looks like for any of us, those are always fun. All right, let's get to some picks. Let's start, Calvin. I know you have a pick on the Fever, but you also have a prop on Gabby Williams. Hit us with both.
Yeah, so we're starting with Gabby Williams under 13.5 points. It's a little bit more juiced at FanDuel, but everywhere else, MGM, DraftKings is minus 125. She's a slasher, and this is the exact type of player who really struggles against this Golden State Valkyries defense, who loves to pack the paint. They play some zone. They actually played half of their possessions as zone in one of those two matchups earlier this season against Seattle, which is a lot at the professional level. And Gabby averaged 10 true shooting attempts in those two games. So even with efficient shooting, that's going to put you well under 13 and a half. And she didn't shoot efficiently at all against that defense. Two of her four single-digit games this year have been the two times that she faced the Valkyries. So I do expect her to shoot a little bit better than last time when she was 1 for 11. But even if she shoots, a decent percentage on 11 attempts, it's going to be tough for her to clear 13 and a half. So I love the under here. And then I am going with the Fever plus 9.5, even with probably no Caitlin. Obviously, nothing's official yet. So if for some reason she does play, you're going to get incredible closing line value on this. But I'm assuming she's out, and I still like this. I think that this is an overreaction to her being out. In addition to not having her, it's also back-to-back. So there is a reason why this line is really high. It should be around 1.5 or close to a pick'em otherwise. But Caitlin, even when she's been healthy this year, has struggled with her shot. She only hit her second three on the road all season in that game last night. And obviously you expect some of that to regress when she's back, but she hasn't been worth as much to the spread this year as maybe some of the other players on her team, even Aaliyah Boston, all-star starter, Kelsey Mitchell, an all-star as well. Still a lot of talent on this team in New York, also without Jonquel Jones, who has been out since the last time that they played the Fever. And in those 11 games since that game that she's been out, New York's only covered in 2 of them. So I think Jonquel Jones is just as big of an absence here for them. In the 2 games that they faced each other, the Fever lost by 2 and they won by 14. And obviously both of those were with Caitlin Clark. But again, these 2 teams are pretty close when you look at the Fever with Caitlin Clark and the New York without Jonquel Jones. So this line is implying that Caitlin Clark is worth like 8 or 9 points to the spread. And I don't think she's quite worth that much as good as she is. So I think we're getting a good line here on an overreaction. I love taking plus 9.5.
All right. We have some housekeeping to get done here. Liddy says, how many days until the NFL? We're 50 days away from NFL kickoff. If you have a famous number 50, and I got to be honest, there aren't a ton of them. Was Mike Singletary number 50? I guess he was. That's a good one. Not a lot of 50s in the modern day, but I guess we're Mike Singletary days away from NFL season. Really good call out there. Let's see. There was another thing. Calvin, I hate to inform you of this, but Richard Pierre, who we know, love, and respect, we met him over at Yankee Stadium last week. I mean, he's not wrong. You usually pop with the colors. You got stripes on or something. Like, what's going on here? What happened?
Oh, man, I dropped the ball today. You're right. You got me. Next time we're back, I'm going to have to step it up.
I have confirmed. I can't believe I forgot that Mike Singletary's number was 50. Mike Vrabel also wore number 50. Shout out to the New England Patriots. All right. Taft, let's get to your picks. And you have 3 here. I'd hate to you have to give them all out at the same time, just rattle off 3. So maybe we'll just go one by one, and we'll just quickly go through each one. Start us off with Scottie Scheffler.
Yes, yeah, a really straightforward pick here. You could get Scottie Scheffler at plus 500 to win. I like him as the top American at plus 240. Royal Portrush is a ball striker's course, and Scottie Scheffler is the best in the world at doing just that. He leads the tour in strokes gained, tee to green by almost a full stroke. That number is unheard of unless you're Tiger Woods. He is coming into the Open with 10 consecutive top 10s as well, so you can almost guarantee that he's going to be in contention come Sunday. People have questioned Scottie's links golf play in the past, but I have recent confidence to feel that he's going to be just fine this week. He finished T7 in the Open last year, which was his best finish in this major, and then he had a T8 at the Scottish last week as well. Like I said, plus 500 for the win, but plus 240 is just too good a value not to take, especially considering the fact that that means you can cut out your Rorys, John Rahms, Ludwig, Victor, and my next pick. So top American, Scottie Scheffler.
That's a great transition. Let's go to your next pick, because I think some people are going to be like, wait a minute, Tommy Fleetwood doesn't win, but he's not on American soil. Maybe that makes it a little different. I don't know. Talk to me about Tommy Fleetwood at a pretty big number, plus 2,600.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. He cannot win on American soil. That is his knock. However, people forget Tommy Fleetwood has 7 international wins on the DP World Tour. He knows how to get it done on this side of the pond. That's why I like him at 26-1 as my pick at Portrush, where he finished in second to Shane Lowry in 2019, the last time the Open Championship was here. I think Fleetwood has revenge on his mind, especially a course that favors ball striking. Like I said, he's one of the best iron players in the world. Tommy Fleetwood, a.k.a. Tommy Flusher, to get it done this week. That's my pick.
All right, speaking of flushers, the last pick of the 3 that you have, and oh, by the way, once he's done giving out this next pick, I'm going to tell you about a BetMGM boost that you can take advantage of. Talk to me about Russell Henley in the top 10 market.
Sia, I've been saying that Russell Henley has chosen quality over quantity this summer. He's only played in 3 events since the PGA Championship in May. He's finished inside the top 10 in all 3 of those. So we're going to take him at plus 500 to do the same here in the major. He had a solo 5th place in the Open last year as well, so he likes playing on this side of the pond. I mentioned iron play and ball striking. However, driving accuracy will also be crucial at Portrush. Henley is 14th on tour in that, so I like his ability to get off the tee safely and then flush it from there. I think that this is as smart of an investment as you can do, especially if you can get a little boost on BetMGM with it.
There you go. Professional transition, because we do, in fact, have a boost for the Russell Henley play or any of the plays that Taft just gave out. BetMGM players will receive a boost for the Open. To use the boost, just make a wager on the Open. Really that easy. Score extra winnings if your wager that was made with the odds boost wins. BetMGM has some really, really good boosts. Feels like on a very, very much a daily basis. So definitely get to BetMGM and take advantage of all these boosts, especially when you're getting, like when you get a boost on like a matchup that I'm about to give out, it's not super sexy, right? But when you're looking at a plus 240 or a plus 2,600 or a plus 500, that makes it a different ballgame. And oh, by the way, Taft, if you have time after the show and you want to go through the comments, maybe you're going through them right now, like a lot of love coming your way. The fact that you're getting this much attention with this like looks like stuff, a lot of it is kind of in the teasing variety, but believe me, this means everybody absolutely loves you. Younger version of Seth MacFarlane.
Ooh,
that's not bad.
I'll take it.
I have a lot of respect for Seth MacFarlane. He's a funny dude. All right, we got to get to more picks. I got more golf picks. We got Summer League. We got NFL futures to talk about. We got your questions and comments in the chat. We're going to cover it all right after this message from our partners.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure,
Just try to keep up.
every face-off,
This ends now.
and every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I do want to remind everybody at 4 o'clock, that's when our live chat is for the Open Championship. Taft, you will be airborne at that time, but it'll be me and Rick Gaiman. Sometimes Mike McClure drops in, really answering any of your questions, whether they're betting or DFS related, anything, or one and done. Anything you want to talk about, we're going to cover. We stop the show when your questions run out. So you can get into the chat early and get your question in, or you can get into the chat while we're live. Between 4 and 5, we will be live on the Early Wedge. Taft, people want to know, in the background, is that a football with the Masters logo? And where would somebody get something like that?
This is a football with the Masters logo, a special edition from the COVID Masters in 2020. If you'll remember, they didn't play it in April. They played it in the fall. So as a fall sport would do, they made a football with the Masters logo. I got this at Augusta National this April.
That's really, really cool. I want one of those now somehow. All right, I'll get to my golf picks, and then we're finally going to get to your NFL future and your NBA Summer League pick, which I think is really interesting. I'll try to keep it relatively short. I'm going to go Tommy Fleetwood, some synergy with Taft here. I'm going to take him in a round 1 matchup over Bryson DeChambeau. This is just a case of, listen, I'm not necessarily a Tommy Fleetwood guy. I'm not usually taking him in matchups or outrights, but I got to admit what Taft just talked about with Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, he's an absolute flusher, and it's just really him kind of winding down on Sunday afternoons. That's where he starts to slide a little bit. But Bryson DeChambeau, he's been great at majors. This isn't necessarily the major for him. The short game is always tends to be a problem, and that's going to be needed here. Also, the approach play hasn't been absolutely great with Bryson. He's been great in majors. I do think he'll show up, and I do think that there might be an overcorrection on him in terms of him sliding down the odds board. With all that said, Tommy Fleetwood in a much better position right now to succeed, whether it's round one or over 4 rounds. So give me Tommy Fleetwood minus 115 over Bryson. Again, these are round one plays. This next round one play is a 3-ball. It's a plus 150 play. And because it's plus 150, I would lower the unit size. I'm trying to win a unit here. I'm not necessarily betting a unit to win 1.5, but I'm going to take Christian Bezuidenhout plus 150 over Rasmus Højgaard and Romain Langesk. This is a case of neither of these guys really great in open championships, but I think the course fit and the incoming form for Seabez is much better than Rasmus. Rasmus, just like Bryson, really can take advantage of a solid driver, but that's not what you're going to get at the Open Championship. Being long isn't super helpful, and if you're wayward and long, you're in maybe some big trouble here. I just like Seabez's game for this course. I like his incoming form a little bit better than Rasmus's. I don't think Langesk is really a huge factor here. So to me, I don't want to say it's just a 2-ball because Langesk could eclipse these guys, but to me, I've got Seabez over Rasmus. I think Seabez's course fit and incoming form is just a little bit better. So I'll take the plus 150. So that's a round one matchup and a round one 3-ball. Do not forget, this tournament starts at 1:30 in the morning tomorrow morning, like Thursday morning. So any bets or DFS lineups you want to set, you got to do it tonight before you go to bed. Otherwise, you will get locked out. Larry, we got NBA Summer League. We got an NFL future, which I was on HQ with you yesterday. And so I know we discussed this a little bit. Start us off with some NBA Summer League.
Yeah, Summer League's been some really interesting action there. Not just Cooper Flagg, but all the guys. Got to see VJ Edgecombe a little bit last night. What's interesting is that the top 4 teams will make it. And right now there's 8 teams that are 3-0. So there's going to be tiebreakers. Point differential is going to matter. And that plays into my pick of OKC laying 9.5 against the Pelicans. OKC is 3-0. They've won their games by an average of 15. They have the 3rd best point differential. And they can become the first team ever to win the NBA Finals and then win the NBA Summer League. I'm approaching it as if they're going to try to do that and that they're going to play their big 3. And of course, that is AJ Mitchell, their second-year player who has been dominating this league, averaging 20 points, over 51% shooting from the field. They have their first-round pick from last year, 19-year-old Serbian guard Nikola Topic, incredible playmaker, 7.3 assists per game. That's second in the Summer League. And then yesterday, they got the big man, 26-year-old Brandon Carlson, another second-year player. It really helps when you have the second-year guys along with your rookies. So they've been very impressive. All 3 guys expected to play. But again, that's how it gets a little bit iffy in Summer League because, guys can get shut down like Cooper Flagg we know has been shut down. But there's been no word that they're going to sit any of these guys. The Pelicans are 0-3. Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, they have some talent, but I think this is an OKC runaway like we've seen the last couple of games for the Thunder. And then in the NFL, I'm just all in on Brian Thomas of those Jaguars that I absolutely love this year to have a nice bounce back year with Liam Cohen. This guy had almost 1,300 yards, Sia, catching passes from Mac Jones for 10 games. And now Trevor Lawrence is healthy. Now he has an offensive guru in Liam Cohen who says the passing game runs through Brian Thomas. So we have Travis Hunter, you have De'Ami Brown. On the outside, you're going to see Brian Thomas. He had 29% routes in the slot last season. I think we're going to see 50% because of how big he is, how fast he is, and how great he is over the middle. That's what they're talking about. So I think 150 targets is definitely in play. 1,500 yards, definitely in play, but 1150.5 to me, way too low for Brian Thomas.
All right. I have a question, Calvin, from D. Johnson that I want to get to, but I also want to ask, because one thing we discussed yesterday, Larry, on HQ, I like your Brian Thomas pick. And I agree with the sentiment of like Mac Jones versus Trevor Lawrence, although I don't think the gap between those two is as big as people think. That's just me kind of talking trash about Trevor. I want everybody in the chat to talk to me about whether you'd rather take the Texans at, I believe, plus 100 to win the division. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Larry, correct me, is it around plus 200 to win the division?
3-1. 300.
It's plus 300. And then the Colts are around plus 350. Which of those three teams would you like to take the AFC South? Because Larry had Jacksonville at plus 300. I had the Houston Texans at plus 100. I do think the Colts are in the conversation at plus 350. Let us know which of those three teams has the best value in terms of betting. I'm just curious what everybody thinks. Calvin, the question from D. Johnson is thoughts on Courtney Williams over 10.5 rebounds and assists.
Yeah, I saw that one come in, and my first thought was, wow, that looks great. I think she should be closer to 12. I just pulled up one sports book here, and I'm seeing over 11.5 at minus 155. So I don't know if it's on the move. If you have a stale book at 10.5, you should go take that right now, even up to like minus 150. I just checked, and I have her at 11.8. So if that's out there, that's a great bet.
Would you say if that's a number that just doesn't exist anymore, that would be if somebody wanted to make that a parlay piece, or just don't engage there?
Yeah, I mean, she's over in 5 straight. She's been playing more minutes the last week or two. So yeah, I would take it.
All right. Jeff Stenberg says, Jags, big bounce back for Jacksonville incoming. And Larry, that was kind of your point, right? That you got Trevor healthy, you got Liam Cohen coming in. Obviously, you got Travis Hunter. They got a lot of pieces there. That's pretty much what you were saying with Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, and he had Baker Mayfield throwing for 4,500 yards last season under his tutelage. He was also excellent with the Rams. I think he's going to make a huge impact right away.
All right. We got a poll in the chat. I do want to remind everybody before we get out of here, if you have any questions, put them in the chat now. But I want to let you know, I want to remind everybody about the Draftathon. Fantasy Football Today Show is hosting a Draftathon to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. To help raise money, we're auctioning off a chance to come onto the Early Edge and give out a play. We'll drop the link in the chat. That's the YouTube chat. That's the Spotify, the podcast chat. We're going to drop the link there. And just you basically click on the link, and if you win, you're going to come onto this show and give out a pick. And you know, some people in the chat I know are aspiring cappers, right? And it would be kind of cool to have this as a part of a reel you make up. So again, it's all for charity at the end of the day. So, and we're going to do more Draftathon oriented stuff with the fantasy football leagues. We're going to start kind of getting into that next week and having people sign up for everybody's league. I know Mackenzie's got a league. I've got a league, and we're going to raise a lot of money. If we fill out all the leagues, we're going to raise over $60,000 for St. Jude just with that. Just with the fantasy football stuff, not all the other Draftathon stuff that Dave Richard and Adam Azer and Heath Cummings and Jamie Eisenberg, all that crew does. So a lot of money to be raised for a great cause. Taft, did you see anything in the chat? I don't even know if you're privy to the chat.
Oh yeah, the chat is active, baby. We're talking about Victor Hovland at 30-1, Jordan Spieth, who just had a kid. Someone's trying to say that he's well rested. That man has had no sleep. But I mentioned Scotty Scheffler earlier. He's plus 500. Those are the lowest odds in the Open Championship since Jordan Spieth in 2015.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, he's plus 500, I think, at BetMGM. He's plus 450 in some other places. So I think, unless I haven't looked in a couple of days at Scotty's odds in particular, but I think you're getting the best odds if you want to bet him at plus 500 at BetMGM. Jeff Stenberg says, Ryan Peake, top Australian. No, I mean, listen, I bet the top Oceania market. I know that's just kind of a joke, by the way, Jeff, but in that Oceania market, I'd probably go with Adam Scott. Oceania, of course, includes New Zealand. I do like Ryan Fox. I do like Adam Scott. But I would probably be focused on Adam Scott. If you watch the Best Bets show, he is one of my outrights at 75-1. Also played him in the without the big four market at, I believe, 45-1. What do you think, Taft, about Xander top 20 at plus 105? I assume that's including ties, but Rick, I'm not 100% sure. Either way, Xander does feel like the game is coming together.
Yeah, I mean, he's been battling that wrist injury all year. If any week would be his week, it'd be this one, coming off a win last year at the Open Championship. Xander's about as safe as a pick as any for the top 20 this week. So
yeah, I do like Xander. I think the game's coming together. That's why I bet him at 25-1. He's also one of my outrights. I have 3 outrights essentially, and then 2 long shots. So 5 outrights. Again, go to the Best Bets show. I also have, actually, Ben, if you don't mind, here we go. I've got bets for, like, remember everybody, I hit William Mao last week at 70-1. Okay. I tweeted that out on Wednesday. I know most of you got that tweet. I will make sure for first round leaders, I'm going to tweet those out as well for Barracuda. These are my outrights for Barracuda. I will put it in the SportsLine Discord as well. My Barracuda outrights for those listening on the podcast and who didn't catch the Best Bets show already: Kevin Roy at 30-1, Hayden Springer at 60-1, Nick Hardy at 80-1, Thomas Rosenmueller at 90-1, and Trevor Cohn at 110-1. This is Stableford scoring. We're going for guys who are big-time scorers, birdie makers, eagle makers. It's a different type of scoring system. These guys can absolutely fill it up. My favorite, if you only wanted to take like one or two of those, I would Nick Hardy's my favorite one at 80-1. 70-1 is a fine number on him as well. I just like the odds there, but those top three I would say were probably my favorite. All right, Calvin, was there anything else in the chat question-wise that you needed to address?
Yeah, so one person brought up Camila Cardoso under 22.5 points plus rebounds. And I just want to say that Ariel Atkins and Angel Reese are both out for that game for the Sky, so I'd probably be careful about taking an under. She might be the featured player tonight.
Very interesting. Larry, anything in the chat that you needed to address before we get to the recap screen? Oh, well, he said he's good, but it was on mute. All good, Larry. Okay, who wins the AFC South? Texans, 65% at plus 110. The Jags, 25% at plus 300. And the Colts, 8% at plus 300. I think the Colts is plus 350. Either way, looks like people are side. I like the Texans. I'm not a big Texans guy, but I think their defense is so good. And don't forget, my future on the Texans is Danielle Hunter, Defensive Player of the Year at 80-1. I just think that's a good look because this defense is going to be ferocious, and they're playing quarterbacks that are likely going to be turnover prone. I think sacks, holding onto the ball too long, sacks, strip sacks, fumble recoveries. I think that's all in play, not just for Will Anderson, but also for Danielle Hunter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the recap screen before we get out of here. Larry Hartstein on mute means he has to give us a soccer play in Bucket's honor. That's pretty funny. All right, let's see. I've got a round one matchup, Fleetwood minus 115 over Bryson DeChambeau. That's, of course, tomorrow morning. Don't forget this starts at around 1:30 in the morning tomorrow. Christian Bezuidenhout plus 150 over Rasmus Højgaard and Langesk. And then we go to Summer League. OKC minus 9.5 over the Pelicans. That one courtesy of Larry Hartstein. It's minus 110. And then a future, Brian Thomas Jr. over 1,150.5 receiving yards at minus 110. Then we go to Calvin. Gabby Williams under 13.5 points at minus 125. And the Fever plus 9.5 at minus 108. And then Taft Gantt, Scotty Scheffler, top American plus 240. Tommy Fleetwood to win plus 2,600. And Russell Henley top 10 plus 500. A lot of plus money on this screen. You love to see it. Hopefully we can cash some of these bets. And do not forget, the Early Edge on CBS Sports Network today at 1 o'clock p.m. and tomorrow at noon. We got a lot of early edge content, a lot of early wedge content also on CBS Sports Network this week, and of course on the SportsLine YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show. Chat was great. Ian Lights Out, I See You, Richard Pierre, Ski Mask Boy, Laura Mayer, Danny Garcia. Everyone, thanks for being in here. Big shout out to Taft Gantt. Good debut, my friend. Whether the picks win or lose, again, instant street cred. Have fun at Royal Portrush. Any closing words on your debut here on the Early Edge?
I just hope that everyone in the chat who won't be going to Portrush gets to enjoy the best weekend in golf, where you can wake up, pour your coffee, and enjoy major championship golf from basically the time you wake up until about 3 p.m. It's the best way to start your day. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year on the golf calendar. Enjoy the action.
And then when it's over at 3 o'clock, guess what? You got the Barracuda Championship outrights to sweat with us. So like we got basically, 16, 17, 18 hours of golf. Larry Hartstein, Taft, Calvin, thank you very much. A big thank you to Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. We're going to remind you next week, but don't forget this show, The Early Edge, is nominated for Best Male-Hosted Podcast for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. So we got to remind you, you don't have to do it right now, but a lot of you have already done it. I'll remind you next week. It takes 60 seconds to do it. That link will be in the YouTube and podcast description as well. Don't forget about the Draft-a-thon. A lot going on this week and next week at The Early Edge. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the show. On behalf of everyone and on behalf of everybody in the chat, have a great Wednesday. We'll see you next time. We rest our case.